good morning, or good afternoon. This is the ShallowCross Sports Network with the AA, bringing you another show. This is going to be a consolidated show, which I'm going to talk about the Austin Peay Governors, as well as the Middle Tennessee State Blue Raiders, as well as the Tennessee State Tigers, and the Memphis Tigers. Memphis Tigers was on a bye last week, and they're 6-0. They looks like they're gonna go down to play UAB in Birmingham this weekend. So we'll have more on that game coming up. And then of course Vandy, big game Saturday. They're playing LSU over at Dudley Field. Big game. Vandy, I think, if they play the way they play, their game, they can win that game. I don't really believe LSU is as good as they've been saying they are. Now, LSU has a pretty good run game, and if Vandy can stop the run, that'll be a fairly good game for them. Also, the Tennessee has the big game, and I mentioned that yesterday. They got a big game coming up against Alabama. They're not giving Tennessee a chance in that game. And then, of course, TSU, they played up in Southeast Missouri, and they lost, I think, 28-12. And I think they lost their starting quarterback in that game also. And so it looks like they're going to play Howard in their homecoming on Saturday. So we'll talk a little bit more in detail. But with that said, let's get right on into it. So as you can see on my ticker, the lot of big games coming up this weekend, and we're gonna be reporting on all of them. The biggest game so far this weekend is the Vanderbilt, the LSU game, as well as the Tennessee-Alabama game. But with that said, let's get into some of the FCS schools. Austin Peay played East Kentucky, I believe, and they lost 34-20, I believe. And then of course Middle Tennessee, I think, was on a bye also. But they're going to face Delaware on Saturday. And I think that game is in Delaware. And this is University of Delaware, who just moved into the FBS this year. And then, of course, Memphis, they're going down to Birmingham to play a UAB. And, of course, UAB fired Trent Dilfer, who if you know, he was a former NFL quarterback and won a Super Bowl with Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But he just wasn't able to get it done down there in UAB. And so that's going to be, I'm not going to say it's going to be a relatively easy game, because the quarterback, Kittner, he threw for almost 400 yards on Tennessee's defense. So we just have to see what happens in that game. And of course, Memphis was on a bye also. And then let's looking at TSU. Like I mentioned earlier, TSU went up and they lost 28-12, and I think they lost their quarterback in that game also. I don't know who they're going to start. Maybe Palmer will start at quarterback on Saturday. But with that said, let's look at TSU. If I can pull up their stats here, and we'll look and see what they did here. But looks like McNair had 175 yards passing, and he was 15 of 22. And of course, Jay Weber for Southeast Missouri was 24 39, 2 TDs and 2 interceptions. And looks like Z Simmons, I guess it's number 30. He rushed for 55 yards, 7 carries, 1 TD. And he was a wide receiver, had 3 receptions for 57 yards. The C. Rubel for Southeast Missouri, he had 93 yards rushing on 12 carries. And C. Pedro, wide receiver, had 8 receptions on 94 yards. Just looking at it, TSU only had 282 yards total offense to 459 for Southeast Missouri. They had 3 turnovers, Tennessee State did, to Southeast Missouri's 4, and then had 15 first downs, and Southeast Missouri had 24. Tennessee State had, they did better than Southeast on penalties, 10 for 70 yards, whereas Southeast Missouri had 11 penalties for 115 yards. They were 6 of 18 on first down, where Southeast Missouri was 5 of 14. 1 of 3 on fourth down, 1 of 1 on fourth down for Southeast Missouri. Time of possession was 29-34 versus 30.26 for Southeast Missouri. So just looking at that, looks like Southeast Missouri was able to score 3 touchdowns all in the first and second quarter. Tennessee State didn't get on the board until the third quarter with a field goal. And then they had another field goal in the third quarter. And then they finally got a touchdown. And the pass conversion was 2-point pass conversion was no good. So, and then looks like Southeast Missouri tacked another touchdown in the fourth quarter. So Tennessee State has to regroup, and looks like they're still not at the bottom in the. Well, you got 3 bottom feeders: Western Illinois, Charleston Southern, and Tennessee State. And of course, Southeast Missouri State is like 1-1 and 2-4 overall. Looks like Tennessee Tech is the team to beat. They're 3-0 and 6-0 overall. And so, but like I said, Tennessee State having a hard time this year. They got Howard, and that's Michael Vick's team is coming in, and we'll see what they do with Howard. See if they can win the homecoming game and go up to 2-4, 2-5, I believe, for the season. But right now they're not discouraged, and Coach Reggie Barlow is still trying to pump them up and get them ready, get them ready to play. And big news, I guess, for TSU is that it's homecoming this weekend, and looks like the basketball team is gearing up to get ready to start their season. I think the season starts the first or second week in November for all colleges. So, and then of course Middle Tennessee, like I said, they're going up to play Delaware in Delaware, and Delaware is new to the FBS, but don't know how well they've been doing so far this year. Let's see if I can find someone. But they played Missouri State and they lost to Missouri State. I think the score was 28-22. Middle Tennessee did. And so right now, Middle Tennessee is basically in the same boat Tennessee State is. They're actually 1-5, and they're playing Delaware. Don't know how good Delaware is. Looks like Delaware is 3-3 overall and 1-2 in the conference. So that's the story on Middle Tennessee. And of course Austin Peay. Austin Peay is looks like Austin Peay is going to play. See if I can get a better copy. Austin Peay played Eastern Kentucky, and they got kind of They was up in Richmond. They got beat 34-20, and looks like they're gonna face. They may be on a bye this week. Let me see. I checked the schedule for them, but I think Austin Peay may be on a bye this week. But it looks like Austin Peay. Looks like Austin Peay is gonna play. They're on a bye. They won't be playing until next week, which is the 25th of October. So they get a bye. And just looking at, Parsons, the quarterback, he's thrown for 1,655 yards, and he's actually leading them in rushing also. And of course, Jaden Robinson, he's leading them in receiving. 28 receptions for 414 yards, 6 TDs. And Parsons just a one-man show. He got 87 carries and 304 yards, 2 TDs. And then he's got 10 TDs and for 1,655 yards passing. And just looking at the Eastern Kentucky stats, he had 283 yards passing, 22 of 37, 1 TD and 1 interception. And East Kentucky's Mike Burkett had 175 yards, 18-24. Parsons also led the team in rushing, 21 carries, 1 TD. B. Hearsley of Eastern Kentucky had 99 yards on 8 carries. And then, of course, Jay Robinson led the way for Austin Peay with 145 yards on 8 receptions. And, of course, D. Stanley had 59 yards on 4 receptions. So, and Austin Peay had 1 sack. And D. Hood, defensive lineman, had 1 sack. And Mike Wiley, cornerback, had 8 tackles. To Jay Ward, defensive back for East Kentucky, had 9. And then Jay Bailey, defensive lineman, had 1 sack for Eastern Kentucky. Austin Peay had more yards, 473 yards to EKU's 347. Austin Peay had 1 turnover. So this game was relatively close. It was 34-20. I think I mentioned it was 28-20, but it was 34-20. Looks like first downs. Austin Peay led on first downs also. They had more penalties, 9 penalties for 85 yards, 5 penalties for 55 for Eastern Kentucky. Time possession, Austin Peay led on that also. So I'm trying to see here what caused them to lead. Well, they had the 1 turnover and a crucial time, but it looks like Eastern Kentucky was able to score that first touchdown. Actually, Austin Peay scored the first touchdown. East Kentucky tied it up, and then Austin Peay got a field goal, and then they got a touchdown, went up 17-7, and then and that was in the second quarter when they came out in the EKU tacked on a field goal, made it 17-10 at the back end of the second quarter, and then EKU came out and got a touchdown. Right there at the end of the second quarter, got another touchdown, made it 17-17. Then at halftime, Austin Peay was able to get a field goal, made it 20-17 at halftime. And then the score was tied with another field goal by EKU in the third quarter. And then fourth quarter, it was 20. Third quarter was 20-20. Fourth quarter, Austin Peay and EKU went up 27-20 with a touchdown in the fourth quarter, and then they tacked on another touchdown in the fourth quarter to make the score 34-20. So Austin Peay sits at 1, 2, 3, well, they sit in the fourth place in the United Football Conference. And where's East Kentucky? Look, East Kentucky's right behind them, but the top team is Tarleton State with a 3-0, 7-0 overall. They 7-0 overall. And of course, I think Austin Peay beat West Georgia, and I think they lost to Abilene Christian, and I don't know if they paid Tarleton State yet. But like I say, that's the story on Austin Peay. And Austin Peay's got a bye this week, and they will play. Looks like they'll play North Alabama on the 25th. So that's the story on all the schools that I covered on this channel. Just a quick recap, and then just tell you who they're playing coming up and who they're going to face. So if I get any more information on anything going on, like I mentioned earlier, that the two big things right now that's going across my ticker, you had the firing of a lot of coaches, but one of the biggest things is the transfer portal is not going to open up until January, so it's not going to interfere with the actual early signing period. And then, of course, the early signing period is still going to be in December for high school kids. And then, of course, the second signing period is always going to be around the 5th of February for the signing of high school kids. And then thrown into that, with the portal opening up in January, you're going to probably have a lot of commitments from the transfer portal also during that same time for a lot of the schools. And that's everybody, the FCS and the FBS. But with that said, that's going to end this show. And this was a consolidated show. And if you have any questions or comments, put them in the comment box. If you need to know anything or have any questions, hit me up on them, and I should be able to answer mostly all of them. This is ShallowCross Sports Network with the AA. God bless, and we'll see you on the next show.